Solace. I seek solace in the God a friend of mine told me about years ago at a Mexican restaurant on West 4th Street. My mother had died the previous fall, and I wanted to borrow some of my friend's faith for myself, though, as it turned out, he had little of his own. A friend of his, he said, a Jesuit priest, believes that God regards each of us much as he might a tree or a rock. I suppose that even in this love I could find some consolation, though it is not the love I long for, my mother's, which I remember more and more dimly every day. So that was an older poem, which I read as a prologue to the rest of the poems that I'll be reading, which are from the beginning of a work in progress. And the conceit of this work is that the narrator is doing a tarot reading for herself. The narrator chooses a card to signify or represent herself. She shuffles the deck, and then she begins to interpret the first card she laid out in the spread. First, the epigraph to the work. We come to the notion that the tarot works precisely because it makes no sense. That's from Rachel Pollack's classic, 78 Degrees of Wisdom. The signifier, the Queen of Swords. First, a card is chosen to signify the seeker. Piles of clouds gather over a distant valley. Though she would be drenched, she wishes that the storm would come. She has always loved the clamor of thunder, the steady murmuring of rain. It is what surprises her most all these years since her girlhood, how little changed she is from the girl she once was. Sitting atop a hill on a throne carved out of stone, she is so lonely, lonelier even than the raptor that soars in the bright sky above her head. A solitary bird simply is what it is, whereas she, a woman, longs for a companion. Where is the companion suitable for a queen? As a girl, she could never quite imagine her womanhood. She certainly never expected to wield this sword or wear this crown made of golden butterflies. Shuffling the deck. The seeker shuffles the deck while meditating on her question. First, let me confess that I have always believed in magic. As a girl, I believed I could find fairies in the woods behind our house, and as a teen, I dabbled in witchcraft and tried to learn the meaning of my dreams. Before I left for college, I bought a Smith-Waite tarot deck, which I kept with me all summer, along with The Complete Guide to the Tarot by Eden Gray, and I read the fortunes of all my friends and of anyone else who would allow me. I could not read the cards then without consulting Eden Gray. It never occurred to me that, to understand them, I simply had to look at the cards, their bright, jewel-toned illustrations like stained glass windows in a church, each illuminating a state of the soul. Eden Gray advises that in order to protect your deck, not only from physical damage, but also from discordant vibrations, you should keep it wrapped in silk when not in use. I confess that I have been careless with my cards. At times, I have had them scattered across my desk or bedroom. At other times, I have left them shut in a wooden box, untouched for years. Maybe I gave up on magic. Maybe I never really understood what it was. Maybe I thought magic was a way to get away from things as they are and find another world where different rules apply. Maybe that world is right here, all around me like the sunlight and within me like the sky we breathe. Maybe I have no idea how things really are. Maybe all I know is a story. Maybe shuffling the deck is a way to change the story. This covers her. Key 13, Death. The first card, laid over the signifier, represents the influences on the seeker's question. I do not know the magic that would allow me now to ask my dead mother what she was thinking all those years ago when she gave me that large, lavishly illustrated book about witches. I sat on the lawn between the garden and the woods and read about ancient worship of the feminine divine. For years afterward, I wondered if anything the book said about the great mother and the horned god could possibly be true. I wanted to believe in a time when God was a woman, but I doubted. Eventually, I believed in no God at all. I read somewhere that occult objects like tarot decks could serve as portals to spirits and demons. One night I awoke and thought I saw a rat staring at me with red eyes from my bookcase. I ran screaming down the hallway from my bedroom. Would I even want to know the magic that would allow me to speak to my mother? I'm afraid of stirring up trouble. In this, I am like my mother. She believed in the feminine divine, but she also went to church every Sunday. My mother, too, believed in magic, so much so that she feared the consequences if I were to read the tarot for her. Most of all, she feared the appearance of the death card in the reading. Nevertheless, one August afternoon, years before she got sick, I persuaded her to shuffle the deck. I was at last about to leave home for college, and the death card, as Eden Gray interpreted it, thrilled me. Birth of new ideas, new opportunities. I did not imagine, as I do now, standing before death as it appears on the card. I feel both the heat of its white horse and the chill of its fleshless gaze, and like the maiden pictured on the card, I turn away, seized with the terrible certainty that it was I who killed my mother. I wish I could go back in time to warn the girl who I was then, to be prepared to look into death's terrible face. I couldn't undo what I had done once the cards were laid out on the table. I remember so little. I remember sitting with my mother on the front porch of our cottage in New Hampshire. I remember the shining sun, the fact of the death card on the table. I remember nothing else, not any other of my mother's cards, nor the look on her face, nor what she said to me. I remember saying, "The death card is good," and I remember the shame and dread clutching my chest. More to come.